Wow. Just wow. What is going on, everyone? And welcome back to the Mets Weekly Podcast. We are live at this very moment on YouTube and on X for our post-game coverage of the Mets versus Brewers Game 3 of the National League Wild Card Series. Now, before we get into all the details, all the excitement, all the craziness that just happened in Milwaukee, I have to remind everyone to subscribe to the Mets Weekly channel if you have not already for live recordings of the Mets Weekly Podcast following postseason games. For those of you watching live or on playback and you want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. For those of you in the live chat right now, want to let you guys know, we love reading your comments, your questions, your concerns, all of your thoughts about this team at the current moment. But if you feel like you're being ignored, you're not being ignored. You're just being starred throughout the show. We'll try to pull up as many as we can to keep the flow of the conversation going. Now, also remember to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok, where we just wrapped up Frank's post-game thoughts after every single Mets regular season game, as we are in the postseason now, and it was titled The Mets Frankly Postgame. For our audio listeners, make sure to follow us on your favorite listening platforms, not miss the audio version of new episodes that drop at 9 a.m. the following day that these are recorded live. And for those of you tuning in on the audio show right now in the future, make sure to tune into our pregame shows around 90 minutes before the game, which there will be more thanks to a huge win tonight. And that will only be on our YouTube channel, as the audio will just include our podcast for the post game. So without further ado, let's get into our post game show. Wow. I mean, what else can you say? You cannot write a script better than that. The Mets were down with their backs against the wall against an incredible pitcher tonight, and they somehow just pulled it out of their ass. Somehow, this team, no matter what, they just have drama in their bones. I don't know how it happens, but they did it. I'm going to go right to my co-hosts, my partners in crime. How are you guys feeling? I'll go to you, Andrew. I mean, just this team. What is happening right now? This is crazy.
Well, I keep making the meme. I've said it throughout the last couple of weeks when I've been on the show. Is this World Series DVD is going to hit like crack? Well, here's a new chapter of that video and of that DVD, and how this game started was scary to how identical this game was to Game 3 against the San Diego Padres in that series, except this time they got 2 hits for Francisco Lindor, but identical to what that was. And the more infuriating part throughout the beginning of that game is we're getting carved up by a guy just throwing fastballs right down the middle and sliders, but oh, it's moving and all this shit. Jose Budo comes in and just, yeah. I'm not feeling the greatest. I'm feeling a lot better now, but physically, I'm not feeling the greatest. I turned it off for 2 seconds, went and got some medicine, came back, and just, isn't it poetic? The guy who I've shit on for 3 years. I've said this dude's got no dog in him. There's nothing he does. And when he came up, of course in my head he's like, okay, here comes a 6-4-3 double play. I'm like, I know it's happening. Like it's gonna be, here's your weak ass first pitch swinging ground ball to Adames and turns it. And is it bad when that ball's in the air? I thought Frelick was gonna catch it, and until it hit the damn fan.
I didn't trust Alonso's reaction.
No,
I know he's always doing stupid shit. So I was like, that thing leave first, and then I'll get excited.
And again, and how Frelick was like, and then he hit that wall, and that ball went over. A sick noise. I don't think I'll ever make that noise again. But the fact that it was the guy whose ass has been lit on fire, rightfully so, he finally gets his moment. And then they also tack on another run, so it's not like, well, 1-run ball game, let's have some fun. And of course, our Sandy Koufax comes and cleans it up and ends it up Lindor, amazing double play. and let's bring on those fuckers from Philly, and we go whoop their ass. Let's fucking go.
Well, Frank, I'll go right to you in our pregame show because you were in attendance for it. This guy, Andrew, didn't even bother to show up. But when we talked about it, I said that if there was going to be a big moment, it had to come from Pete Alonso because there was definitely a lack of power through, let's say, first 26 innings from the Mets. You had even power coming from a Brewers team that even if it's not like really their specialty, but I mean, they got it done. And it was all on the back of the big guy who we have given fair criticism for. And he made us look like absolute idiots, and we cannot be happier.
Yeah, I mean, I just, it's crazy. I'll tell you what, he made up for falling on his face on the double play. I mean, that is one way to do it in dramatic fashion. And he almost had another big blunder when Edwin Diaz was pitching the foul ball on the pop-up that literally goes right in his glove and falls out. And I was like, if that turns into more runs, oh my goodness, we're in big trouble. But Diaz gets out of it, and it just felt so fitting that it was going to come down to him. Whether he won the game or lost the game, it just felt fitting that it was going to come down to him. That, like, it just felt so fitting. Like, you couldn't write a better script. I mean, because like we talked about like Budo. I remember some people were saying like, why didn't Budo pitch yesterday? Like, he should have been in there. Why did we go to Maton, whatever? And then Budo, he's not used to this. So they bring him in, he gives up the homers, and it was just ugly back to back to start it off. And you're like, oh my gosh, here we go. And then the Brewers go to Freddie Peralta in the 8th inning. I did not have that on the pregame show bingo card or what have you. I mean, game 1 starter 2 days later. I mean, I know he didn't pitch a lot, but still the fact that Peralta came to the 8th inning, I was surprised by that. And when you see him, you're like, oh gosh, here we go. And then, like I said yesterday, when you saw Devin Williams as you're falling behind, you're like, oh no, how are we going to do this? So for Pete Alonso to finally get the biggest hit you could possibly get against Devin Williams, I think he's like the first hitter to take him opposite field. It's the first legit right field home run Pete Alonso's hit all year. He hit like 4 others to right center. This is the first time he went strictly to right field. He went with an outside pitch. He didn't try to pull it to the left side as a ground ball.
Disgusting.
This time he actually went with it. And I find it so interesting that it was not Eric Chavez that Pete Alonso talked to during the mound visit that Devin Williams had. It was Barnes. So just kind of throwing that out there, it was not Eric Chavez that he was talking to that was giving him pointers before he stepped up to the plate. And you know what? It took a hero's effort from Francisco Lindor, who gave them opportunities, gave Pete Alonso opportunities earlier in the game that he was not able to come through. Your other captain, Brandon Nimmo, getting on right in front of Alonso to set that up, to set up the pressure, because one Pete Alonso home run was not going to do it since you were down 2. You needed Lindor to get on, you needed Nimmo to get on, and then the big blast happened. So, I mean, you could, like I said, we talk about you can't write a better script. It's crazy. I mean, I was ready to come on here and go even harder than I did last night on Alonso as far as the rant that I had in store. But now I have to shut up and say that, you know what? And I told him last night, I said, prove me wrong. Get a big hit. He proved me wrong. He got the big hit. So we are really happy because as critical as we've been of Alonso all season long for his failures with run score position, 291 left on base, most in the league, we wanted him to do well. I mean, that was the thing
exactly.
So frustrating. It's like, we don't want to yell about him.
We want him to be the guy.
It's like we want him to do what he's been doing his whole Mets career. Just bring in runs, get big hits. And he did it. So I'm happy, obviously, for the Mets that they get to advance. But I'm happy for him, too. I mean, you know it's weighing on him. You know that there's just been so much pressure that like Met fans, including us, have put on him. So for him to get that big hit, it was so huge. And then you have Winker with the 2 hit by pitches. Marte just quietly having a nice little series. Gets the RBI. Winker steals a base, and he's throwing down helmets. I mean, it was a lot going on there in that 9th inning. And then also a very unsung hero is Edwin Diaz. I feel like not enough people are talking about Diaz coming in and putting out the fire that Jose Budo put him in, giving up those 2 home runs. Diaz comes in the 7th works in the eighth, gives up a couple walks, but he goes 39 pitches. And we talked about how, you made him throw 40 pitches against the Braves and what have you, and how available is he actually. For him to go 40 pitches and be very effective, get those strikeouts, keep it where it was really, really big. And it was allowed them to set the stage. And then David Pearson, who has basically no playoff experience, very little. He came in the Padres series a little bit out of the bullpen and not much reliever experience, to pitch out that ninth inning. I know it was the bottom half of the order, but still, it was just nice to see that as well. It was huge, and they move on. So, we'll see what happens next. But it's like I said in the pre-show, I'm glad that they got past the series because, they showed it 2016 wild card game. They lose. They don't go very far. 2022, obviously. At least now we're back in a division series for the first time in nearly a decade. So it really is just a very exciting, and I still can't believe it. It was just so crazy the way it happened, especially against the pitcher, the guy who did it. Like, insane. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, I was ready for him to ground into a double play and for Mets plans to absolutely explode about his future with this team. And now he said absolutely no way. And I feel like I don't know if my voice is going away here. I was screaming so loud, because like we said, we're here as fans. We may have some strong opinions about players, of what they are doing, but we've always been, guys who know what Pete Alonso is capable of. And the thing is that what made it so frustrating all year is that he was not coming through when we needed him to come through, whether we were talking about high leverage situations, runners in scoring position, runners on base. It seemed like every single thing that he did that was actually contributing was either when the team was up by 7 runs or when the bases were empty. And that's just not something that you want to see from somebody who's trying to get a big payday. And at the end of the day, he did the job, and it was great to see. I'm happy. I was so relieved. I was really just relieved to finally see him come through when it mattered, because it was a long, and I mean a long 162 games. And throughout that entire series, throughout that entire season, he wasn't coming through. And to see him kind of bust through that narrative in something that could have been his last AB as a New York Met. I mean, he extended his tenure by putting this team in a position to win. He finally did it, and it was great. And I'm not saying it in a sarcastic way. I'm saying it is in finally he did it, and he did it in the biggest spot possible. The team's backs were against the wall. They are facing one of the best relief pitchers in all of baseball. And he did it. He finally did it.
Probably
he came through.
I'll say the best.
Probably the best. I mean, Edwin Diaz is still the greatest, and listen, you may disagree with me on that one, but relievers change, and next year, Edwin Diaz will not give up a single run. He just needs to get healthy. But when we talk about it from the standpoint of Pete Alonso, everything that's been riding on him this year, he needed it. The Mets needed it. He needed it. Mets fans needed it as well, after what they have seen all year of him just coming up short every single time. And we have talked about it constantly, all the way up to today's pregame, all the way up to on Twitter tonight. Everybody was tweeting shit about, let this guy go. Let him go. Let him go. Then 26 innings into the series, he finally comes through. And he does it in the perfect way possible. It's awesome. Great. Now listen, I wish he pulled the fly ball, because again, my ego would just sink. But you know what? We talk about this all the time. And no matter how analytically driven or how many numbers I will draw up for you and swing out for you, at the end of the day, in the postseason, the only thing that matters is results. And then you move on. I mean, that's it. That's the only thing that matters. Now, I'm going to go get something to drink because my voice is pretty much spotting out at this point. You guys can continue some of the talking points if you can do it without me. I know it's really hard because I carry the entire show. I understand it. But Frank, I'll go to you. Andrew, you guys can have some kind of discussion. Just don't talk about wrestling. I'll be right back.
Oh, that's, well,
Yeah, we won't
wait
do
a
that.
wait a minute. Well,
No, I
Probably.
think also another hero, Quintana. I mean, I didn't predict 6 scoreless innings, only 1 walk. I thought that was big because with how many hitter counts he put guys in, I was afraid that there was going to be more traffic on the bases. We saw Milwaukee finally steal a couple bags tonight, so that definitely had me worried. But even though he only had the 1 walk, he still had the 4 hits, so there were jams, there were runners in scoring position, and he had to make big pitches. And I just found it very fascinating that this was yet another game where Pat Murphy does not let his pitcher go a 3rd time around in the lineup. Meanwhile, for the Mets, Quintana had to face the lineup 3rd time around. So just seeing that difference in approach and just the faith that Mendoza had in Quintana for him to go 6 scoreless was really, really big for him. The team really needed it, so that was huge. And also the fact that Stanek was warming up in the 9th. I thought they should have went to Stanek over Peterson, but it ended up being the right choice with those 2 left-handers they have in the bottom half of the order. So those decisions ended up being correct. But overall, I mean, just like these unsung heroes. And it's tough for Quintana because I feel like, oh, there we go, Ricardo. Awesome. We'll chat with you in a little bit later for the call-ins. But I think overall, it's just really nice that since the Mets were getting shut out, for Quintana to match those zeros was big as well because that was able to keep him in the game. And like we always say, you're just one big swing away. And that's exactly what Pete gave them, one big swing. And then one thing I do wonder is like with Peterson pitching today, kind of how he does factor in this Phillies series. Because to be honest, with the lefties that the Phillies have, I'm not against keeping him in the pen. I have to be honest. I'd rather, if Sanger's ready, I'd rather say Danny Young, goodbye.
So
Sanger
he's
come
your new Sean
and-
Gilmartin to face Bryce Harper.
No, he's much better than Sean Gilmore. So
Yeah, Ricardo
that
coming
definitely
in
is
with the
huge.
$10 from us. Thank you so much. Saying great win. Shout out to you, Carson, and the guys. Wow, that's just my name. Thanks. We please give Quintana 5 minutes before the stream is out.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I mean, listen, I would love to get into Jose Quintana because, of course, we went into this game. We weren't confident because we knew that this could go either other way. The first 2 times that Quintana faced the Brewers, he just didn't go deep into the games. He didn't pitch really bad. He just didn't go deep into the game. He got you 6 innings, which was great. You were able to push Severino 6 innings. You got 5 innings from Minaya yesterday. But to get 6 innings from him with a rested bullpen, he also came into the 6th against, was it the meat of the order? Like the
Yes,
middle of
he
the
did.
order?
He faced Contreras and those guys.
I was expecting them to just give him like one more base runner. If he gives up a base runner, they were going to take him out. But luckily, he was able to get through that. It was a fantastic performance by him, continuing a really solid postseason career that Jose Quintana has had. So hopefully he can continue that. And it was great to see the fact that, even though Quintana has been up and down this season, for him to come through the way that he did and put us in a position to win, even though the offense was having a really, really rough time against a really good Brewers pitching staff, it was great to see Jose Quintana come through the way that he did. And I really do want to get into, of course, the actual summary of this game because it seemed like it was non-event for quite a while. But again, there was some craziness, shall we say, of course. The Mets offense started off this game, could not figure out Tobias Myers whatsoever. Other than Francisco Lindor's 2 hits, the rest of the lineup would go absolutely hitless and absolutely silent. Trevor McGill would come in on the 6th in relief of Myers and toss a 1-2-3 inning. Jose Quintana would go back out for the 6th, like we just said, and finish it off to end his day. 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 0 earned runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts on 94 pitches. In the 7th, Jose Butto would come on and be greeted rudely by pinch hitter Jake Bauers to open up the scoring with a solo shot. Sal Frelick would follow it up with a home run of his own to make it 2-0. Edwin Diaz would come in to stop the bleeding, getting the last 2 outs of the 7th inning. Diaz would come right back out for the 8th and toss a 1-2-3 inning with 2 strikeouts to keep the Mets in striking distance. The Mets would come up in the top of the 9th with their season on the line, having to get through star reliever Devin Williams. Lindor would lead off with a walk. Nimmo would slash a base hit to make it 1st to 3rd, and that would bring up Pete Alonso with runners at 1st and 3rd with 1 out, and Alonso would finally get his moment, slapping a huge 3-run homer to right field to give the Mets a 3-2 lead. After Jesse Winker would be hit by the pitch and steal a base, Starling Marte would bring him home for some insurance to give the Mets a 4-2 lead, and then the Mets would turn to David Peterson to close it out against the bottom of the order, which I can't even really say is a bottom of the order because they've been pests the entire series. And he would toss a scoreless inning on 8 pitches to secure the series victory. The Mets advanced to the NLDS to play the Phillies, notching their first playoff series win since 2015 and their first playoff series win in the Steve Cohen era. All right, well, the full-on unfold of this game, of course, there's other factors that have to go in of, the rally that they put together was great, but let's just say the first 8 innings, the offense looked nowhere to be found. And even though this is a great pitching staff that the Brewers have, I mean, it was looking to go in that direction of elimination game Mets, where 2016, they didn't hit a complete lick for Noah Syndergaard. 2022, 1 hit in the elimination game against the Padres, and that was kind of the trajectory it looked to go on, but the Mets put a full stop to that in the 9th. But I mean, this was getting quite frustrating, let's just say that, to see them just lay down like they did in those first 8 innings. Frank, what did you see from the offense before? Because I'm not gonna lie, I was getting I was getting heated. I was getting very, very heated from seeing a lot of these guys chase, whiff at a lot of things in the zone, and also staring at strikes. There was so much of that.
Yeah, I think the big thing that really stands out to me is there was Lindor and there was everybody else. Now, when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, it makes sense because one hitter in today's Mets lineup has played in the World Series before. His name is Francisco Lindor. And you kind of felt that. He looked like the same guy that we've seen all year, not pressing, not changing his approach, just up there, put good swings on balls, get hits, do his thing. Everyone else, they just looked like it was their first time in a huge game, and like they hadn't really been there before, which for some of these guys, they haven't really been there, especially like Vientos is the one that stands out. Like this is a new experience for him. Even Alvarez is a new experience for him because Tomas Nido was catching in the do-or-die game for the Mets in 2022. So for some of these guys, it is a bit of a new experience. But Lindor, he was just kind of calm, cool, and collected, and he was doing a great job. And, just the Mets win, so it doesn't matter. But I do find it interesting that JD Martinez was nowhere to be seen in this ball game. Once again, I feel like, now again, with Tyrone Taylor, I like Taylor. This is not a knock at him at all. But he is a 4th outfielder. I mean, I think we could all agree on that.
Absolutely.
He's a 4th outfielder. And JD Martinez, I know it's been a struggle for him, but I feel like, why is he here? Because if he's not going to pinch hit for Taylor, I would rather just have Brett Beatty because let's have another infielder on the roster at this rate. I mean, you know what I mean? I feel like it gives you more flexibility, gives no lefty bat, because if he's not going to be batting for Taylor, he shouldn't be here, because then what's he doing? So he's the other guy who would have had experience playing in the World Series in the lineup. But I just find that very fascinating that they stuck with Taylor the whole game, even all the way. I think he batted in the 8th inning, and they stuck with him, and he went 0 for 4 with a strikeout. So that was not good. But overall from this offense, too many strikeouts, and obviously led by Vientos with his 3 strikeouts. So stuff like that was very frustrating. And like Andrew said, especially when you saw so many fastballs over the plate and just whiffing on them, that was really just frustrating because like these are hittable pitches and no one could seem to catch up with it. So that definitely was very annoying. But then it was kind of one of those things where, like, once you saw McGill come in, you felt like, oh boy, we're in trouble now because we didn't do it against Myers. That was your best chance. And once they couldn't do that, you were definitely like, oh, things are only going to get tougher now. And then then we got the toughest facing Devin Williams. That's when they got the job done. So I did find that really interesting. But just overall, I mean, Winker getting a couple hit by pitches, like I said, that was nice just seeing him get on base and just kind of playing that overall villain role. Now, when he stole that base hit, that bad back was bothering him again. I did see after the game he had the heating wrap around that back, so it's still something to monitor. I know the MRI came back clean, but it's something that definitely is still ailing him a little bit. And you know what? In game one, you are going to see Wheeler, who's a right-handed pitcher, so just something to consider and just something to monitor as we get ready for that series.
DJ Stewart coming back. Sorry. But Andrew, I'll go to you on the offense, obviously, before the explosion in the ninth inning. There was, I don't know, it really looked like they were heading towards that elimination game type of force in the wild card round. And yeah, I mean, it got close. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, I mean, the strikeouts, especially, again, Myers, who, again, isn't throwing 100, and he said he's throwing 95, and he's got a slider. I mean, that's pretty much it. But look, I think it was the fourth inning. It was Marte, Taylor, Alvarez. He literally threw the same sequence to every single one of them and struck on both Alvarez and Taylor on fastballs looking. It was like a fastball in, he threw a slider, and then down and away fastball, got them both looking. With the same sequence as the previous at-bat. Is nobody watching the game? Because this literally, he just threw first with fastball, slider, then he got on the paint, Marte and Taylor on fastballs, like outside corner. And I'm like, is nobody, picking that up from the dugout, our hitting coach, who doesn't want to look at the computer? So what are you looking at, bud? Since you hate analytics and you hate the computer, so what are you doing besides the point? But yeah, again, and we've seen it hundreds of times in big moments with the Mets. The bats go quiet. I mean, Lindor, we kind of gave him a little bit of shit last night as well, but he was the only one that seemed to show up when the games mattered the most before obviously that explosion. But again, Winker getting on base twice, two HBPs, that's about it besides Lindor. And again, Vientos, another rough game with 3 more 3Ks, but overall he had a pretty solid series overall. But again, over that bottom half of the lineup, besides Starling Marte, who again has had a really good series, throughout the whole series. Him and Vientos, you could say were the most consistent of the two anybody else in this lineup. So at least it's good to see raising that trade value in the offseason. That's always good to see. But again, overall, it was a typical Mets elimination game. But again, this magic power of Grimace, Seymour Wiener, and bullshit, and there you go. And we don't really talk about it because all I only want to talk about is that ninth inning.
Yeah, obviously it all just kind of like washes away, of course. There was some frustrations last night, of course, and, it all washes away now. They won the series. They're moving on. Some people in the chat here saying, Marte was on this series, of course. Captain Lindor, Christopher coming in. Jonathan also in here. Shout out to all of you guys in here as well. For those of you who have not already, make sure to like the stream. Hit the sub button. For those of you watching right now, I don't know if it's on sub mode or anything, but I think we'll just let the messages flow through. If you're a Mets fan and you want Mets coverage that we give you before and after every single post game, this is the place to be. Now, when it comes to the rarity of how crazy this is, Devin Williams pitched yesterday, and I was thinking, like, okay, maybe Devin Williams just is not, he just is not, great on back-to-back days or whatever. Looking at the days of rest, it looks like in his career he has given up 2 runs on back-to-back days with 0 days rest. So, yeah, this was quite a rarity of a moment, and to get it from your big bat, I mean, that's crazy. That is just absolutely crazy. And I think that they just did a phenomenal job just fighting all the way back like they did. But I think that it also shows, not to be negative or anything, but it really just shows and just proves my point once again. And I think everybody can agree at this point. Let me know in the chat if you actually do agree. Say, yes, Carson, I do agree. They have two levels: 0 and 100. That's when it comes with this offense. They can't spread anything around. It's either they just do everything in one inning or they just disappear. And that's literally just what it is. Anyways, but when it comes to some other news that just dropped about 2 seconds ago, I do want to say one thing and announce it. Mike Puma, the New York Post, just tweeted out that Kodai Senga is in the conversation for a spot on the Mets NLDS roster, which is great to hear. And, maybe we will see something, but most likely he will come out of the pen. Maybe that does move Peterson to the rotation equation, maybe. I don't know. But we'll see what happens. And, we knew that there was a chance that he came back, of course, a very slim chance, because he was in the middle of rehab. He also, it's no arm injury. He didn't injure his arm this time. So, we'll see what happens.
Could he have a Willis Reed moment at Citi Field?
I mean, I don't know if he's going to come out there limping. I hope he doesn't. But hopefully, I'm really hoping so. But that's of course more NLDS talk, which we're talking about the wild card. That's in the future. We got a rest day tomorrow. Everybody can rest up. But for those of you sitting back and relaxing and watching our show while we work ourselves to death with our voices, you will enjoy, of course, everybody's favorite segment that I want to bring up, Studs and Duds. These are pretty obvious, let's just say that. But, we got to point these out, and you guys can let us know in the chat who your Studs and Duds are as well. Frank, I will go to you. One player that has performed great tonight, one player that didn't. What would you like? Where would you like to go?
Yeah. I would like to give it to Mr. Peter Alonso with a apology as well. I was very hard on you, Mr. Peter. I do apologize for how I acted last night. I definitely was very harsh. I was very critical, but I said prove me wrong. You did. Huge hit. One of the biggest hits in Mets history, no doubt about it. So listen, I said to my dad, I hope this breaks the ice for him, and now he can get rolling. Because if he could do this in the Phillies series, boy, oh boy, do we have a shot. So I hope this was kind of just like got him to relax and now he could do his thing.
Boy, I hope so. One can only hope. Andrew, I'll go to you.
I mean, there's only really one answer. And it's the guy that got the last 3 outs. I'm kidding. It's Pete Alonso. You have to give, the polar bear his love. Give him his Coca-Cola. He deserves it. Biggest hit in Mets history. The biggest hit of his life. We all ate shit. It's okay. We'll gladly eat this one. Trust me, I'll eat it. So Pete Alonso, there you go. There's your gold star sticker. You showed up.
I will, if he comes through like that every single night, I will actually physically eat shit. Like, I don't even care. I mean, that's how desperate I am for them to actually win. But I think that, for me, I would probably sprinkle in Jose Quintana, of course, because he definitely put us in a great position to win this game, even though the offense was definitely not helping him or doing him any favors, giving him a very small margin for error. And Jose Quintana has not boded well with a small margin of error this year. So it was good to see that. I mean, you obviously can also put Lindor. He was the only one awake for 8 innings, so you can put him up there. But getting into the duds, Andrew, I'll swing this one right back to you.
Yeah, again, we'll go. I will save the obvious. We'll go Mark Vientos. 0 for 4, 3 Ks. Again, yes, there wasn't as much drama and obviously base runners, but again, big moment, big game, and him 3 Ks. I could say the obvious one, but I'll let you guys have the obvious there. An 0 for with 3 strikeouts, and not a great look, but we can. He had a good series overall, but just a bad stinker in the elimination game.
Frank, I'll go to you.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be Budo, and really, it's not so much the home runs, but these baseballs were annihilated. So Jake Bauer is 106.8 off the bat, South Frelick 107.6 off the bat. Frelick's ball traveled 408, Bauer traveled 405. That Alonso shot was only 105 and went 367. So, I mean, those were absolute bombs that Budo gave up. So that definitely was a bit of a concern. I know something Ricardo mentioned, like what we're going to do with Budo. This has kind of been my philosophy, and I feel like it's something the Mets did during the regular season. However many innings he pitches is how many days he gets rest. So if he pitches like 1 inning, he gets 1 day. If he pitched 2 innings, he gets 2 days, and so on and so forth. Because he pitched the 2 innings 2 games ago, he only got the 1 day off. So I feel like as he's getting used to this new role, that's kind of the way I would approach it. There are certain occasions we can go back-to-back nights, but I think overall, however many innings he pitches, how many days rest he should get.
All right. Well, let me just say Tyrone Taylor had a really rough night. Let's just say that. It just didn't seem like he was getting really any like great contact whatsoever. He had that ugly strikeout, I'm pretty sure, in the beginning. I could put him in there. A silent game for Jose Iglesias. Like usually, I know he made like one nice little play early on in the game. That was good to see. But I mean, you can also put Vientos in there as well. But I mean, I think the real dud here is Devin Williams. I mean, what the hell just happened there? But of course, on the Mets side, we're talking about this here. But any other notes we can possibly put out here? Because I feel like, you know, even though it was continued to be a stressful game, they will continue to stress us out. I mean, this has literally just been the Mets' identity, just coming back from behind and just like pulling things out of their asses somehow, like a rabbit out of a hat. I don't know how they do it, but they were able to do it today. I mean, I don't know. There's other pieces to this that I would. I also would like to specify. Of course, I think that this broadcasting crew. I mean, I kind of like tuned them out a little bit more, but like just hearing them in a scoreless game constantly bring up the zeros of the stat line, like basically saying, oh, well, the Brewers haven't stolen a base yet, or the Mets haven't homered yet, or this hasn't. And I'm like just sitting there. I'm like, Jesus Christ, we get it. We get it. And then they bring up all of our losses in the playoffs recently.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to say that ESPN...
All the times the Brewers have failed, how many years in a row had the Brewers been to the playoffs? Why aren't they showing that? That they don't. I
mean, they were talking about it. They got their playoff win, right? I mean, they got their playoff win yesterday. I mean, it was just so annoying to listen to them just like try and feast narratives the way that ESPN always likes to do. So the fact that they did finally get their storybook ending of Pete Alonso, this could be as bad as bad. I mean, good for them. I'm glad. Because usually those storybook endings don't usually go in our favor. But
did you notice
just...
that when Bowers hit his home run, the ESPN graphic of the distance was wrong and said like at a negative launch angle, the distance was 6 feet.
Oh no, the Statcast was wrong this entire series. It was bad the entire series. Yeah, you had loud
like
contact, and they would come up with an EV of like 60. On? It was like, what the hell? Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, I don't even know what to say at this point. What a game! What a finish! I was really, I was really, I was really like just at the end of the day, I was really at a point where I was ready to go on a huge rant in this thing, and to be honest, I still kind of feel the same way regarding Eric Chavez, of course, but it's just like, when it comes to just the overall inconsistency and the overall just like constant streakiness and the like, you know, he got bailed out. Like this type of stuff got bailed out in a very tight situation here. And I still feel the same way because like you can't find a way with good pitching in the postseason. You just can't do that. Like you just can't put yourself in that position every single time and it's going to work out. Like you can't just score 0 runs throughout 8 innings. I mean, obviously they still won. It worked. They got it. But it's like you know, there still is some flaws here that, like, at one point it might run out. I'm really hoping that it happens again. Daniel coming in here and saying something that I think I don't know if it was somebody tweeted this out, saying Pete is the first player in MLB history to hit a go-ahead home run while trailing in the ninth inning in a winner-take-all postseason game. So I'm gonna guess that's like game 7s, game 5s. That's what they're trying to say, like basically sudden death, I guess. We haven't had many. I mean, we've had a few sudden deaths, but we haven't had, like, that's a certain situation where that happened. But, I mean, listen, that's something he can add to his resume that actually fucking matters. So that's great. Any other notes that you guys want to say? Like, there's these little details we can point out, and then we'll get into the viewer call-ins, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people would like to do.
Yeah, no Maton warming up at all. And then also one more thing with Budo, then we'll get to that. I found it interesting. He started warming up in the 5th, but didn't come into the 7th. I wonder if that impacted effectiveness at all. I did find that a little weird.
Yeah, I mean,
Can you hear him?
No, Carson, you're muted.
Yeah, Carson, you're muted, bud. Yeah.
There's some. He's got some technical difficulties to attend to. I know he's trying to set up the call-in, so everyone, Carson's going to drop in a link into the chat. I'll try to pin it in my chat as well. You guys are going to click on that if you want to get your calls in. Remember, it has to be respectful. One strike policy. We're here to talk baseball or sports.
Yeah, that's about right. This one's what we got.
And it looks like he is still working on it. So everyone who's here, whether you're on Twitter, hop over to YouTube, get your questions in, get your statements in, join that link that we're going to put in to get your call-ins. And everyone who's here on YouTube, hit the like button. Let's get more Mets fans in here. Let's talk more about this series. Hear what everyone has to say as we get ready for the Phillies. And yes, we do. We will be at Citi Field. Well, not we, but the Mets will be at Citi Field on Tuesday as they do take on the Fighting Phils, the Philadelphia Phillies. And we've seen the Phillies a lot the past 2 weeks, so it's going to be exciting to go at them once again. The link will be in the chat shortly. Mets 2, right there here. Mets 2128. There you go.
There we go. You guys hear me?
Everyone's going to hop into it. Yes, we hear you.
Any echoes you guys hear? Because I can't use any earpieces right now because it just died. So unfortunately. But so for those of you who want to call in the show, let you know we are only going to be using audio. Just one thing I will just say. I don't know if you guys covered it already. Please be respectful. Please refrain from using any racial slurs or anything. If you're going to act like an ass, we are going to treat you like an ass. So we got Mets 2128 coming in here as our first call in here. What is going on? Mets 2-1. If you have anything that we could easily refer you to, but
you can call me Mets if you want.
All right, what's going on?
This game gave me a damn heart attack, as much, if not more so, than last Monday's wild card game. Mostly because for most of the game, I did not see the Mets go after this with discipline at the plate. It wasn't until the 11th hour they got their heads out of their asses and got this win. This is something we cannot afford. Another thing we can't afford against Philly, Mendoza going out of his way with pitcher gambling, something I've accused him of for the bulk of the season that's cost this team a lot of games.
All right. Well, I mean, listen, I think that at some point they made some of the right decisions today to kind of try and stop the bleeding, I would say. In terms of like Edwin Diaz coming in, trying to keep them in like that actual position.
I get that, but the fact that he's thrown over 100 pitches over his last 3 outings, anyone with half a brain knows if your pitcher has been gassed that badly over 3 of the last 5 games, including tonight, don't put him in. I mean, he made the mistake of putting Maton in 3 days straight, and look where that got him last night.
Well, I mean, the thing about this is that we talked about this tons of time with the workload of Edwin Diaz, and I think that that's one thing that we've made as the emphasis. You know, he's the $102 million reliever, so if you need him, he needs to be out there, and I feel like, of course, yes, the rest is that, but throughout the season, they also have kind of conserved a lot of the bullets this year. Like, he has a very low inning total this year. He has way below most of some of the relievers. So, I mean, I would say, at one point, they made they made a decision. Like, Frank, I'll go to you on this.
Yeah,
like with,
he hasn't been doing many multi-inning outings during the regular season. It wasn't until this last week or so where they really started to push him a little more, because he is still working his way back from that knee injury, missing an entire season. So they are trying to be careful. And I think overall, it's more so the concerns of overworking Maton or overworking Diaz. It also has to do with the lack of faith in Danny Young, in Ottavino, and Brazaban. So when you have so many guys, and Kranick, when you have so many guys in there who are unreliable, you're going to end up overworking some of your top relievers.
Well, then throw in the fact that also the reason we lost a lot of those games in April and May was because no one knew about Diaz having a shoulder issue.
Yeah. He had mechanics things he had to work on. Remember, Carson, he was compensating a little bit for that knee. He comes down to the minors, was able to work his way back up.
Yeah, the constant upper body that he was doing because he just could not rely on the knee. Andrew, if there's anything else you want to add to with the bullpen, because we've talked about this before. Yes, it's a rookie manager, it's a first time manager, and he's going to make some of those mistakes. But I'm letting him make those mistakes, and hopefully he learns from them. Of course, I think that they've settled it okay down the stretch of the season, but again, I mean, there's still some questionable calls, and everybody's going to question their manager.
And then let me address the polar bear in the room for a minute. Would have said elephant, but that'd be too obvious. What has crippled Pete's productivity? His agent telling him, hit like Aaron Judge, be more professional. BS. That does Pete more harm than good. We saw it this whole year's productivity took a nosedive when he took the Judge approach. I was even screaming at Pete one point. Go back to how you're supposed to be. Be you, not the guy across the way in another borough.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we already know that he's not Aaron Judge, and there's no reason as to why he should try,
If I was in Pete's shoes and my agent told me that, I would have kicked him in the dick and kicked him to the curb.
I love this guy's passion. This is great. Andrew, if anything you want to add to that.
I mean, again, yes, when you've got Boris, yes, you obviously are going to have bullshit. You're going to have to deal with the Boris bullshit because, hey, overall, besides the last couple of years, he usually gets his clients a decent amount of money, and obviously this is all about money. So, but yeah, I think it's 100% Pete, is not the, put him in a suit, put him in front of the microphone, and, you're the face of the company, face of the brand. No, he's a dumbass that is going to dry hump, the dugout or do the stupid shit that he does, LFGM. That's who he is. And again, maybe this is Boris, like you said, is in his head and wants to put him in a suit. He's trying to put a polar bear in a suit. Polar bears don't wear suits. Let him just be him. And hey, if this is the homer that, breaks that down and he can go be, when was the last time he actually said LFGM? Like in a post-game interview? Because it's been a while since he said
it today.
That's what I'm saying. He said it today. When was the last time before today he's actually said that? Yes,
he wasn't getting interviewed much because he wasn't the hero of the game. It was Nemo getting interviews, Lindor getting interviews. It wasn't him.
So
it was on El Acuna getting interviews in weird ways.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, but then again, that's a consequence of Boris. You need to kick him in the dick to shut him up and quit playing that crap. I mean, if Pete gets his head out of his ass and dumps this this SOB, I would be fully content with that.
All right.
Beyond that, I don't have anything else left to say. But get me a cheesesteak because I want Philly.
There you go.
All right.
You got them.
I love it.
We got
awesome.
them.
All right, so Mets, we're gonna have to let you go here.
I know. I'm on my way out.
Next voice.
All right.
All right.
Up next.
All right, Urza, we're gonna bring you in.
OG.
This is a long time. This is Merlin,
OG.
aka Merlin. Merlin, what's going on?
What a game! First of all, that was wow. When Noah was hitting those first 2 home runs, I was just wrapping up. I was about to turn off and went to sleep. But then I had a feeling just to go back and turn it off. I listened to a little bit of the Howie radio during the 9th inning. And then when he saw they said Brandon Newman got a hit base hit, I was like, all right, here we go. And when Pete Alonso hit the homer, I just started jumping because I really never saw enough joy as a Mets fan my entire life up to there. If really anything, that was probably Pete Alonso's biggest hit in his entire career.
Of
Say,
course, no doubt.
and honestly, that could probably save him from not leaving, depending on how the series goes. Honestly, the Philadelphia series is probably going to be, in my opinion, probably the most historical series because we never really had any relationship or good friendship with Philly, historic wise. But I want to hear you guys your takes about your ninth inning and what you guys felt during the inning.
I mean, it's pretty much what I would establish every single time, talking about, the outside noise of fans constantly. Winning heals all. And when you come through like that, it changes the narrative. And the narrative this entire year has been that Pete Alonso has not been able to come through in these big moments when you constantly just like, when he constantly has just failed as much as he has. It was starting to get very frustrating. Not to mention, we also had some dumbfound moments from him. We know of how he kind of carries himself, is kind of just a goofball of a player. And I think that, he came through when it mattered, and then that just makes pretty much everything else okay. Like we have said multiple times, he could wear a tutu for all we care. He can do whatever he wants as long as he hits home runs and he drives runs in. He wasn't doing it this year, so a lot of people were just sick of his shit. And, even before that even happened, what was it, 8th inning, 7th inning, he even dropped a pop-up or something, and we're just like, okay, yeah, this is done. We are finished. We have moved past the need for Pete Alonso. Then he comes up in the 9th inning, and he gets the big hit, and it all just gets turned around. I mean, that's kind of just the emotions of Mets fans in a nutshell. We want to win, and, if there's something in the way that keeps us from winning, we're going to go after you. And if there's something that helps us winning, we're going to praise you. I mean, that's just kind of how it is. Just like how this Mets team, like I've talked about with their offense, 0-100. Frank, I'll go to you on this one if you want to talk about this 9th inning.
You're muted, bud.
Yeah, I think you're muted.
Lindor's at bat in the 9th inning was a tough one. I mean, he had to fight off some very tough pitches. He had to kind of check his swing and draw that walk. So, facing Devin Williams to start off that inning with the Brewers having all the momentum. So he really had to battle just to get on base in the first place to set everything up. And then, same thing, like I said, goes to Nimmo. And then once Nimmo got that, you're like, okay, now we have a chance. We have the tying runs on, the pressure's on Devin Williams a little bit. They need to have their mound visit, and then it's Alonso's opportunity to come through, and he finally did. So, I mean, that definitely was huge that Lindor, again, was able to set the table, set the tone like he has for this team all year.
Andrew, what did you think?
Yeah, I think similar. I was honestly doing the same thing Merlin was doing. I turned off the ESPN broadcast. Like I had like we've said also. I turned that shit off. I was sitting down here. I had Howie ready to go and listening. And when Lindor, like you said, tough AB, maybe one of the toughest ABs you're gonna get all year against one of the best relievers in baseball. He fights it off. Nim gets the hit, and you're sitting there. You're like, okay, like again. But how many times have we seen this where it's the false hope, especially with this guy? Coming to the plate, how many times do we sit here and be like, okay, here you go, and it finally happened. And again, like I think we all made just a myriadic sound. I think we heard it throughout the whole universe that Mets fans made the sound that we needed, and hey, he deserves it. But again, it doesn't happen without Francisco Lindor, as always. If he doesn't draw that good AB, doesn't get on base, and a check swing goes our way, because how many times those check swings 50-50 don't go our way. But he draws the walk to start the inning. Obviously, Nimmo being ice in his veins, gets the single up the middle. Finally, the polar bear finally sees some ice. The cold bear, the white bear finally shows up in cold weather, and he gets his moment. So again, overall, it starts with Lindor. And also one little thing I want to find out, I want to just put out for Lindor, because obviously he has a big game. Can we talk about how everyone is celebrating on the field, but what is Francisco Lindor doing? He's going to the fans. Yes, everyone is losing their shit and playing together, and maybe that is something. But obviously he went and hugged Cohen, and then went directly to the fans that came by that dugout and celebrated with them, then with his teammates. I mean, yes, obviously.
But he already got paid. Why would he care?
He got paid, exactly. But you saw the instant emotion that you saw him right after that. It makes a hell of a play to end the double play, which I was like, he actually caught that on a bounce. I could have went bad, but obviously he's the Gold Glover himself, or should be Gold Glover himself. And just to be able to say, hey, makes the play. I mean, obviously he went and celebrated first, but then hugged Cohen and went to the fans directly and hyped them up. So again, just this is how this ninth inning's going. I can make the joke. The DVD is just writing itself, and this season has been a fucking movie, and it's not over yet.
I mean, dude, the playoff games are on Mets yearbook. Those
Yeah.
make the Mets yearbook.
Yeah,
Listen, I'd say that 2024 yearbook on SNY, those rain delays, it's gonna look good.
It's gonna hit, baby. It is gonna hit.
All right, Merlin, thank you for calling in.
Thank you, Merlin.
Always a pleasure. You've been
Shout
a
out,
supporter for a
appreciate
long
you.
time.
Yeah. God bless you guys.
All right,
All right.
thank you.
God
All right,
bless.
so we have Marvin coming in here. Marvin, what's going on?
Hello.
You're
What's
good.
up?
We hear you. You're good.
You again.
Okay,
this is
well,
why we didn't do it,
that's
folks.
great.
This
Yeah,
is
all right.
why we weren't doing call-ins. It just
Yeah, this
takes
is
one
exactly why we
bad
don't
apple
do
to
call-ins.
spoil
Just
the bunch.
idiots like that. Okay. Yeah, unbelievable, guys. I mean, come on. Like, seriously, I understand it's hilarious to do all this stupid shit, but, you know, like, there's things that, you know, we like to entertain and we like to go on here and give our thoughts. You know, stuff like that can get us kicked off of the platform. And, like, come on. Like, that's just ridiculous, guys. Come on. That's, like, seriously, of course, it's hilarious. I know, funny, hilarious, something to talk about on the playground. But like, you're messing with a you know, people that want to see this show, and like again, like we said, try to be respectful. Try not to refrain from stuff like that. And you know, I mean, it's unbelievable. Yeah, exactly. His parents are proud. Great. But like, I mean, come on. Like, we're live here. You know, great win here, like, and you're just ruining it for everybody else. All right, we'll take you know, we'll take one more caller if it comes through. But you know, we're probably gonna have to rethink this going forward. There's a reason why we don't do this. And yeah, once again, Pete Alonso prod coming in saying, "What's up, Frank?" He's saying hi to you. So
hello.
happy about
How's it
this
going?
win. Great to see. Declan coming in saying Senga for the NLDS roster. It's possible. We'll see what happens. It all depends on with his health. But we'll see. Okay. All right. So let's just make sure that person is banned from coming here. I don't know if there's a possibility to do that, but okay. Like, come on. Like, that's just like ridiculous. I mean, we're here to make the show. We're here for you guys. You know, we're here to, you know, give our input. You know, we're here to entertain people and just make that, you know, awful for everybody, and not to mention also just in general. But in other topics, let's just say that. One thing I will say before we get into this next caller that seems like is coming through here, what was I going to add? I was a little bit one thing. I was a little bit surprised, let's just say, of the lack of running, let's just say, because you know, with Gary Sanchez behind the plate, it would have been nice to see them do that, and considering the like the lack of base runners that they were getting throughout the stretch of that game, you know, I think that, you know, at one point they should have found a way to they should have found a way, because again, Gary, we already know, has a strong arm behind the plate, but he's very slow to delivery. And there was like one pass ball to kind of just, you know, I was expecting them to more use the base pass a little bit more, put guys into scoring position. Of course, I know they still had to get the big hit, but taking away the double play was just the main thing. So I was a little bit surprised with that. Of course, I was also a little bit surprised with the lack of matchup induced of with Brandon Nimmo as well. I was expecting a pretty big game from him. Let's just say that. I feel like he matched up pretty well with Myers, but I guess it just wasn't meant to be. But as for the base running, Frank, I'll go to you on that one.
you got to get on base first, and
Yeah.
with
Yeah,
Lindor being
obviously.
the only guy that got hits, you can't steal. So we'll take the next one, but don't ruin it.
Yeah, exactly. I want to remind everyone, please be respectful. Refrain from using racial slurs like the last person came in here and did so. So we have Jarrett here. Please refrain from acting like an ass. Jarrett, what's going on?
Of course, man. And wow, what a win, boys. Man, I gotta
I
tell you,
mean,
before that Alonso home run, I was sitting in front of my TV.
Yeah. There you
All
go.
right. So I think that we are going to stop from doing call-ins now after that. So it seems like this is kind of pointed to a group of people probably doing this in a certain group chat or something, kind of just trolling us through. So I guess that is going to be enough from viewer call-ins. We're going to probably have to pre-screen them if we do it again, but most likely. So thank you for giving me more to cut out for the audio version and more work to do in the future. So thank you to those jackasses who did that. Okay, so any other remaining takeaways from this game? Of course, we have them going into Philly with a day off tomorrow, a much-needed day off, of course, with back-to-back with back-to-back games that they had, the doubleheader in Atlanta, and then of course winning the series here in Milwaukee, 3 straight games as well. They kind of had to spread the pitching around. We already know about the diversity they had in game the adversity that they had in game 1 regarding the bullpen. So definitely a series that I think that we're all probably anticipating. Of course, this is a Phillies team that has had some really good playoff runs in the last few years. We know they have the star power. I personally think that they do match up better against them. Obviously, we'll have a little bit more of specifics, of course, with our post-game show, which will be on Saturday. But of course, enjoying the off day. But as for just like the seldom details, let's just say, regarding this Phillies team, we've seen them match up fairly well against them before. We know we had that big Phillies series win at Citi Field, taking 3 out of 4.
I was there.
You were there. You were in attendance for one of those games. Were you there for the walk, the Taiwan Walker
No, the Saturday
game?
one.
Oh.
No, it was the Saturday game against Suarez. So
okay,
Yeah.
not bad. Andrew, what do you think about going into Philly? What's the confidence level?
Yeah, it's definitely, like we said, a better matchup. Again, you're not doing, besides like Trey Turner, maybe Brandon Marsh, the run game's not going to be an issue. But also you're facing a team that actually plays 2024 baseball, and that is ball go boom. But we've also seen,
well, I mean, the Brewers hit a bunch. So
well,
we're
again,
used to the long ball already.
outlierish, but
Yeah.
yeah. Goddamn noodles hitting bombs. I'm so sick, and thank God we're done with them. But now I can be like with the Phillies. But we've seen with the Phillies in the postseason, yes, they have been dominant, and they've obviously against the Braves. But we've seen them in big moments, even at CBP. They have had a big offers where Turner and Castellanos and Schwarber throw up those big offers. And yes, you still have to do it Bryce Harper in the postseason. We know in that behemoth that is CBP. How I look at it, which we'll preview it, you got to get one to start in Philly, and then you get to come home. So at this point, It's a good matchup. You do have a really good pitcher matchup with Wheeler going game 1, but again, I'm not saying Tyler McGill is going to out-deal him again, but you got a really good pitcher in Wheeler starting the series off. And then Aaron Nola, who, again, historically, we've had good numbers. So, again, you look at the pitching, yes, we're going to be in the disadvantage on paper. But, again, we've seen how many games? We've seen them a bunch the last 2 weeks, having a 4-game set and a 3-game set. And even the series we lost in Philly that second week of September, or third week of September, we whooped their ass in game 1. And then it was slight bullpen mismanagement cost us the other 2 games. So, again, these games have been close. Historically, the last couple of years, we're playing them well. And then, obviously, you have the rivalry with the fans. And isn't it how crazy that we have the new cool rivalry with the Padres and the Dodgers on one side, and then New York versus Philly on the other side. I guess I don't think they've matched up for a while in the postseason, and I guess there is hatred, but it hasn't been recent hatred. But again, anytime you could put the Phillies and the Mets in prime time in the playoffs, the fans are going to be lit, the buildings are going to be lit, and we're going to enjoy it.
Yeah. Definitely the idea of this one, it's probably the same idea of like what it was in 2015. You got to steal a game in Philly. You got to steal at least one game in Philly. And then you get back to Citi Field, which the Mets, I think they've won a majority of those games at home against the Phillies, and they've won a lot of them. They have won a lot of home division games this year. Of course, it's a different atmosphere. Anything can happen. But again, I think that they do match up a lot better against a Phillies team like this as compared to a team like the Brewers, who definitely tormented us for 5 straight games this year. But then the Mets got the final laugh. Let's just say that. Speaking of the final laugh, Rhys Hoskins hitless in this series. Something we can say. I think he got hit by a pitch once or something. But other
with the
than
bases
that,
loaded.
With the bases loaded.
Yeah, with the bases loaded. But other than that, he was completely silent. You didn't get anything from him. Everybody else around him did fairly well. We know Jackson Cherio.
Ortiz was hitless in this series.
That's
I think he was like 0
Ortiz,
for 12 or so.
He was one of the pieces in the Burns trade, correct? If I'm not.
Yeah,
Yes.
that sounds right.
Yeah, him
Yeah.
and DL.
Okay. Yeah, him and DLL. Okay, so
And Ortiz was one of like those 4 guys I mentioned that actually had an OPS plus above 100. He was at like 101. So it's just and like all these other guys, they were like in the 80s. They were hitting home runs all over the place. But it was just a weird series.
And
Yeah,
I guess
of course.
one last thing, which for me was the best thing, the fact that it was Bryce Terang that hit into the double play for the much bullshit that he's put us through.
Yes.
That was
Yes.
just enough.
Which
of this
also made it
offensive
more
field
impressive
crap.
for Lindor going unassisted. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, the way he turned that was incredible.
yeah, I mean, geez, I mean, what else can you ask for in a winner go home game just to be coming back the way that they did, of course, but the full on production. I mean, it definitely had there was a little bit of concern there, I will say, but they somehow found a way to pull it out, and that's literally just the story of this Mets team. They just continue to come back from behind. When they get a gut punch, they punch right back, and they get the last laugh. We know that the gut punch that Rhys Hoskins gave us at the beginning of the season, which he's seemed to do for a long time, let's just say that, dating all the way back to Jacob Rom being just a complete asshole. But, I mean, I don't know what to say anymore. I mean, the Mets got the last laugh here. Hopefully the momentum carries into Philly, a much-needed rest day. The Mets definitely made it difficult, but they did what they needed to do. So I do want to apologize to anybody in the stream, kind of setting anybody off guard for anybody that called in and made a complete ass of themselves. Definitely threw me off guard a little bit, little bit of back and forth there, but we're just looking to settle this one in a little bit, and any of our other thoughts we can just get in out there. For those of you in the chat, we're most likely just going to call it for the call-ins. But as for just in the chat, let us know any questions that you guys have going into this one. But there's other stuff that we can obviously banter on about because we are celebrating here going into the NLDS, even though I'm a little bit frustrated at this current moment. I'm sure everybody knows why. But as for other stuff that we saw out there. Wait, what? Okay, here's something from SNY just posted a video. What was it? JD Martinez, he talked about the Mets blocking out the outside noise and not having pressure on them in the playoffs. He says, you know what? They say we suck. Let's suck. Let's go suck together and let's go have fun sucking. That's what JD Martinez just said. So hey,
Respect.
I mean, let's not forget talking about that team meeting that they had back on May 30th that pretty much changed the trajectory of this season. You know, JD Martinez had a very insightful quote saying, basically, let's play like we have nothing to lose. And that definitely got them going as a team. So it was, I mean, that's pretty funny to hear, of course. We can, bring in some other post-game comments as well, see what we think of it. I don't really want to, I don't want to hear what Pete Alonso said, to be honest, because, I'm just...
He gave credit to the pumpkin that he picked this past week.
Yes,
he said it's the
a
playoff
pumpkin.
pumpkin.
Okay.
He legitimately said that. He was
is-
holding it and everything.
Jose Iglesias
This
just
is
said, shared with Steve Gelbs, saying that he told Pete Alonso in the 8th inning, be ready
Yes, I saw
because
that.
the next inning you're going to hit a home run. Listen, I mean, the Latin pop star, he's never wrong, I guess. I mean, he's a magical,
Now he's a fortune
magical
teller too.
creature.
I mean, he really does it all.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the veteran leadership, again, it's just a very big impact on this team. Let's just say that. And you have a good selection of the young guys as compared to these other pieces that we had where it was just pretty much just all veterans and it seemed like they all kept to themselves.
And also Mendoza with another very fired up speech in the clubhouse, popping the champagne. I mean, just the way this team celebrates and the way how they treat every win like they won it all. It wouldn't happen under the Buck Showalter regime. But
No.
again, I just feel like the personalities that you have here, it works. I just feel like Mendoza meshes with these guys so well that they have so much fun when they play, even when it's these massive games that, like we say, the power of friendship, it just seems to be carrying them along the way. So I just love the way everyone just has a lot of fun. And it makes it more enjoyable as a fan to watch.
Let's just
Okay.
say one thing. I mean, I don't know how packed that house was at Citi Field for the watch party. But let's just say the reaction from Pete Alonso hitting that home run, wow. I mean, imagine that stadium when we have games for Game 3. I mean, it is going to be rocking there. The stadium might shake, might come off the hinges. I mean,
not
I don't even know how to even describe the atmosphere of what it is because, I mean, it's just crazy. What we're seeing right now. I mean, to see them come back the way that they did, where they just were not hitting for 8 innings, it looked like this was just going to be another one that just turns down the way that they just don't hit in these elimination games of this goddamn wild card series that they can't seem to overcome. And then they overcome it in the 9th inning. In fashion of this team, just constantly, every year, gut punch, punch back even harder. That's just basically continues to be the identity of this team. And if they do need a gut punch to keep going, be great. Yes, it would stress us out, obviously, because while it's happening, it's tough to watch, of course. Everybody, I'm sure, was very just I don't think they were nervous. I think they were just sad at the time when they went down 2-0. Because they're just at that point, you're like, shit. I mean, you're like, well, team exceeded expectations, but to lose like that, I feel like with me, we've played like we've had nothing to lose, just like JD Martinez said back in May. But, I think that when you look at these types of victories, it all really has to do with the story that they put out there when they lose. If they get blown out, they get blown out. You're like, okay, whatever. But if you lose on a game winner or you lose in the extra innings, that's one that really stings. When the team wasn't hitting, I mean, I was half and half, okay, this game is close. But they weren't hitting. I mean, they did it to themselves. If they lose, they didn't hit. That's the reason as to why they lost. And you understood it, and you were able to accept it right then and there. But, to have that dramatic fashion for them to just come on the winning side of things after being pretty much lifeless for 8 innings, unless your name is Jose Quintana, who absolutely dealed today. I mean, what else can you ask for? I mean, storybook endings are great. They get your blood pressure pumping. Let's just say that. But when you look back at them, they make you some memories. Andrew, I'll go to you. I know you have some thoughts.
Is there a day off between if there is a game 4 to game 5?
Probably.
Yeah,
Okay.
if they have to travel.
You know
If
what
they don't
day
give
that-
us any off days because it's New York to Philadelphia, that would
Yeah.
be I actually would be upset, to be honest.
because you
But
know
it
what
seems
game
like
5
this team, but
You know what game
yeah.
5 would line up with? On what date? The day that the OMG remix is dropping. So could you imagine if they win this, let's say the series goes 5, and in the post games, and let's say they win this series, they're going
and
to
then
have
he brings out Pitbull.
Pitbull out in the celebration in Philadelphia.
That
Post game
would be-
concert in Philly.
That would be oh yeah, it would be in Philly, so probably
in
it would
Philly.
not be.
Bring Pitbull in.
They probably would have to run for cover, to be honest, because the Philly fans would actually probably kill them. But if it was at Citi Field, that probably would be the most 2024 Mets thing to possibly do. This team's just a bunch of dorks. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, they really are just a bunch of dorks. But if these dorks end up getting us some hardware, listen, if it were, it's
Dork it
only
out.
crazy if it doesn't work. That's just how it is.
And then
got
we
a
sign a
comment
super
you
team in the
brought up
offseason,
from-
and then we become a dynasty. It's all good.
Yep. Caution coming in saying it wouldn't be the Mets if we weren't tortured, and it wouldn't be fun.
Well,
Whew.
that last part.
I mean, if only. I think
I mean,
everybody
this
wishes
is now
we...
2 in a row, near heart attacks that were wins
Mm-hmm.
between the doubleheader in Atlanta and this, within the span of a few days. It's been
On the
an
road, may
emotional
I add,
week.
as well.
Like,
hostile
it's been a
environments
lot.
on the road. I mean, crazy. Just absolutely crazy. I think that we did kind of luck into it a little bit, I would say, because I kind of was hoping when we went to Atlanta to take both games a little bit, because I was like, okay, Padres, we matched up well against them,
Nope.
and then I'm
No, we
seeing
didn't.
them
Nope.
dismantle
I'm like, nope.
Braves the way that they did, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll take Milwaukee. That's fine. That's
Yeah.
fine.
yeah,
I'll
let
take
them the
Milwaukee.
Dodgers battle it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
We'll take whoever survives. We're good.
Tire
We'll take
themselves out a little bit. We'll see.
whoever. Oh
But-
God.
We'll see. I don't know. We don't know if this is the this is the next stop on the ride. Of course, we live to see at least another 3 games, which also means that we will have yet another pregame on Saturday. So make sure to tune in for that about 90 minutes before the game starts. I don't know what the time.
4 o'clock.
Excuse me.
4 o'clock.
4
4
o'clock is
on
game
Saturday
1.
and Sunday. Yeah.
Okay, so Saturday and Sunday will be 4 o'clock, so most likely 2:30 pregame shows, most likely, and then afterwards we will have the postgame shows, which will be the podcasts. I do wonder if the Mets stay in the playoffs as long as we can to where it hits episode 100. I would be curious to see. I personally want to do episode 100 as something a little bit separate, but if they're in the middle of the playoffs,
Or
we got
win a
no
World
choice.
Series. Yeah, or-
If they win a World Series, most likely will be it, but that we still have 10 episodes to go, of course. We're going to go, guys, for another 10 minutes, and then we're going to shut it off here. I would have liked to go a little bit longer, but there were other people who had other plans decided to ruin it for everyone. But other than that, let's just say the atmosphere is going to be crazy. Let's just say that. We have playoff baseball back here in October. Brandon Nimmo didn't lie. Remember when he said, we want to bring it back here, and this is not going to be Pete's last game or whatever. I think that was Mendoza who said that. They were right. They ended up being right. They had to, scrape it out at the end there for it to happen. And they had to go to 3 games in Milwaukee against a really pest of a team in Milwaukee. But they still ended up getting the victory against a team that they really don't match up well against. And they found a way to do it. And hopefully they find a way with a team that they match up a little bit better against in Philadelphia. But we know that team can be dangerous in the postseason. So,
But again, we'll also
see.
bring up the history of the wild card. The division series winners don't usually end up winning. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, and you have to wonder, is there any rust for Philly? I mean, they haven't played in quite a while now, almost a full week.
well, I
So-
mean, Braves fans were bitching about that, and the Braves players were bitching about that the last 2 years. They're like, oh, there's a layover or whatever. And Phillies fans were saying, shut the fuck up. So, I mean, maybe they'll,
Payback's
I don't know,
gonna
they'll
come.
do it a different way. But, you know, if they come out flat, we got to take advantage. Again, like we said, we got to steal one game from Philly. And best way to do that probably is in game one, where there might be some rust. There could be some rust. Who knows? But we'll see. Philly's good. They are really good. So it's definitely going to be quite the battle.
You
To
assume,
be
Bryce.
honest, I'm hoping that it goes to 5 games, because it would be quite a battle. Because to be honest, I personally,
I
again,
don't want
this is just
another
me.
elimination
I-
game.
yeah,
Can
I
we
want a
just,
sweep.
Like,
I just want a
yeah,
sweep.
can we
Yeah,
just
I'm
please,
good.
like, no
I
elimination
I
games?
get it.
can't.
I get it, but when I'm saying it from the other side here is
Like, but Carson, it's like you said. Can we win something in New York? Like, can we please have a little
No.
bit of a celebration on Citi
when the hell
Field?
will that happen? That's never gonna happen.
Oh my goodness, we just.
I
can't seem to get it at
understand
home.
that, but to be honest, this Philly team matches up so well against us that I feel like the only way we win this will be in 5 games. And maybe there is like a different way that maybe the Mets start off 2-0 and they steal both games in Philly somehow. I don't think they will, but
Hey, rusty Phillies. We always make Aaron Nola Aaron Nola were his daddy. Up 2-0, game 3. David Peterson, close him out, sweep him out. Let's go.
you just had to put David Peterson in there. That was it.
I don't even think
Caution
PD's even
saying the
starting
Mets are
game
the
3
new
though.
pest.
I feel like it would be
how we want it to
McGill,
be.
Sevy, Mania, no, or
I'm just
Probably.
Thursday,
Yeah.
Friday, Saturday. No,
yeah.
Well,
no,
McGill will probably
Sevy
get
will be
game
ready.
McGill's most
No,
likely getting game 1.
Yeah, McGill's game 1, but then game 2, I don't think.
I would think
Sevy will be
Sevy goes
ready.
2, then Mania, because it'd be the day off between. Mania would
No,
go
Sevy
3.
could go Sunday. Yeah,
So,
he pitched Tuesday. So yeah, that works.
but I think we're asking the wrong question here, boys. When that Citi Field game, who's throwing out the first pitch?
Hmm.
What
That's a
legend's
good
coming
one.
out? What legend's coming? Actual Met legend or meme legend? You got choices.
Well,
I
do
That's
think
the
that
thing.
we're
I feel like
probably-
if they're ahead, I can see them going meme. I really could.
I do think that no matter what, you're gonna have a return of Grimace. It's just
He's
gonna
gotta
happen
be.
sometime during the
Play
playoffs. I
Austin's
don't know
theme
when
song.
it will.
Get him out here, yes sir. Get his
At
ass out
one
there.
point, it's going to happen. Like at one point, whether let's say they go to the NLCS or the even
I
the
hope
World
so.
Series,
The place
gonna
was
happen.
crazy, honestly.
it's gonna
When
happen.
this came out again. I hope
Yeah,
so.
I feel like he would probably get maybe like a
we-
bigger standing ovation than Pete Alonso got last
Oh, yeah.
week against Philly. Like
100%.
I feel like
no,
everyone's
Pete,
embraced
I think
it
Pete
so
will
much.
finally get the legit ovation once we get to New York for the home run. I mean, he deserves it. Like I think he's gonna get
Yeah.
a big reception. When
And then
when we
other
get
damage
back
he
home.
does in Philly too, so that would also help too.
Hopefully,
You never know.
hopefully there's more to celebrate. Exactly.
Yeah.
Mookie and Darryl are
Um,
good calls. I like that.
Mookie Wilson or Daryl Strawberry.
good
Those are
shout-outs.
some really good picks. We know Mookie is very involved with the team. Even before Steve Cohen took over. I mean, he was really involved. with
It
them
would
for
be
a long
interesting
time.
with the Wheeler connection if Beltran could throw out a first pitch. I know Wheeler's pitching in
Yes.
Philly, but I feel like
Yes.
that whole dynamic.
That would be interesting. That actually would be cool. Not gonna
Or,
lie.
or how have we not? It's Grimace that's
David
throwing
Wright.
it, and David.
What about
Wright's
Adam
catching it.
Wainwright?
Shut up.
No, definitely not. That man is banned.
Dude, if they put Adam Wainwright on the broadcast
Oh, he's
for the
on fire.
playoffs on
there's a
us,
shot.
They
I
might, 'cause
actually
Smoltz is doing the West Coast. They already confirmed that. Smoltz is
Good.
doing the
Thank
Padres
God.
Dodgers series, so we won't be hearing.
thank
him. At
God
least
we're on
that's that
Fox,
good news.
correct?
Yes.
We're
There's
on
gonna be
Fox,
some Fox
so
and FS1.
you could
action
have-
a little bit too.
You could have Adam Wainwright, correct?
Wainwright
Is he on
presents-
Fox or ESPN?
Yeah, Brzezinski, Wainwright.
Hey,
All
you know,
right,
Caution.
caution continuing with
Caution
his
worked the
wealthiness,
graveyard shift to pull
sharing
that
it.
out. He saved it till after midnight. He's just midnight
All right.
spending. He's just too tired. He's like, I don't know what to do.
Caution, giving us
give
the
this away.
$5. Thank you so much.
We appreciate it, though.
Appreciate it. Again, for those of you who want to donate to the stream, you can. They will donations donations are not required at all, but
they
are
kind of are after
accepted.
the night we had a little while ago. I kind of need
Yeah.
something to, it's been a rough night. Not the
Easy.
Met stuff, but those that know.
Some
It's
morons.
been a rough
Yeah,
night.
exactly. For those of you who were in here, this show was supposed to go a little bit longer than it will. But there were some people that had other plans. So, little bit frustrating, let's just say that. But again, we're just kind of here. We're just kind of filling in a little bit of the time, talking, chilling with you guys, mainly because we're just celebrating a series win, one that we have not gotten in over 9 years. That's our first playoff series win. Personally, I call it a playoff win. I would
He's
say.
in Florida, Frank. He already said it. He said on
Yeah.
the broadcast, he
He's
was like,
gone.
"See you
That
guys in
That
February."
man,
He's
that man
gone.
has no interest.
Yeah,
He
he's out.
dipped.
Yeah. I feel like
That
he'll
man-
come back to like spring training or something, and he'll be like, "Wait, we won. We did
won the World
this
Series?"
in the playoffs."
Exactly.
Like he wouldn't even know.
Wait, they didn't bring
Um,
him like to do the. I guess maybe when they go to City Field, they didn't have him for the pregame on SNY. Obviously, I don't have SNY. They
I
didn't-
saw
they don't
Gary,
have
Gary
Cohen.
Cohen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know
Gary
Cohen.
Cohen's
Gary's
been
on
doing the
there,
pregame,
yeah.
and Ron is going to be doing the Yankee series.
TBS,
So
Yes.
yeah, TBS. So he's
So,
just chilling.
and
Well, there
Well, I
is.
remember,
All
I
works
remember
not
when the Mets
well.
got to the World Series, they got all three of them
Series,
to
he was
do
there.
some
Yeah, he was
pregame.
there.
So
Yeah.
if you get that far, maybe you could work something out.
leave Haji at home.
And
you gotta come
game
to work.
game for war saying, hopefully there is more to come. Not for you three Alonso haters. That kiss he blew was a goodbye kiss for you guys. You guys are the type of fan that drives stars like him out of New York. Okay, well, here's the thing. We criticize players when they don't get the job done, but we gave credit to him.
When you get offered over $150 million, you say no. You could drive yourself out. Like they
Yeah,
gave him the opportunity to stay.
Listen,
So I mean,
that
it's up
that
to
is the
him.
ultimate.
I mean, it takes
prove
two
it
to
to me.
tango, does it not?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't like to dance.
Sometimes it takes one, though, to just turn down a contract offer. But I mean, listen, I think that we put You Gotta Believe to another level once again. Frank Major saying, I told folks you gotta believe that what's happened in 73 went to the World Series that year and barely lost. They took it to 7 against Oakland that year. Right, and that
Sadly, we
team
can't
only
play
won about 83 games, right? I mean, they barely got in. They made quite a run.
So I just saw another thing. Diaz was just walking for the celebration again. He won't.
He was
as
not
we know
Yeah.
why, he won't.
Good.
He won't
Don't
celebrate.
Don't,
Yeah.
Good.
Don't think about it. Just-
Good. Just raise your hands up in the air, go like
That's
this.
what he did. He literally just kind of walked and clapped, and
He's like,
it's a shame because he's another guy who's like very
I get it.
emotional. Like
I get it. Yeah.
It stinks.
It sucks that he has to do that, but caution. You never know. You never know. Let's just say that we have.
Of course, we don't want this to be 73 or 88. I remember both, and we don't want that. So, definitely not 88.
Well, 88 was pretty much when all the magic kind of ran out. Like that
Mhm.
was like that was
The
it for
sponge
them.
went
Like
dry.
that was the end. I mean, obviously, like the magic kind of fell out like right after they won in '86. But like that was officially like that was it. Like that was the end against the Dodgers in '88.
We'll see though. It's exciting though. We keep going. The season lives on.
Of course.
I mean,
One thing I will
that's
say-
a big thing too.
Oh boy.
One thing I will say, you have some really, really good matchups coming up for this next round. Let's just say that. You have Detroit and Cleveland, who have some really good young pitching. Of
AL
course.
Central. You got a bunch of divisions too. You got AL Central. You have
Yep.
the NL West. You have the NL East. Then you have Yankees,
Yeah.
Royals. That's different divisions. But overall, you have a lot of like division action going on.
And then
too.
Mets Phillies is always fun. We already know it gets as heated as it gets. KC and New York. Let's not forget
When was the last time
the
Mets
infamous
Phillies
Pine
squared
Tar
off in
game.
the playoffs?
The infamous Pine Tar game. Let's not forget that, of course.
course.
So, we'll see. And listen, the Royals got some star power. So it's not like they can't chest up to a Yankees team, because the Yankees are top heavy.
They need more than
We'll
Bobby
see.
Witt to step up.
Listen, the Yankees have a layover too. So, it might be the reason why they lose. I don't know. Who knows? But right now you have, quite the path. And then, of course, the newest, I guess this is like the newest era of Red Sox Yankees now, San Diego versus LA. Like that's the new, like the modern, it's just like one team that's just like been kind of inferior for a while, but up and coming. And then you have the other team that it just spends all this money and gets every single goddamn player known to man. So that's Yankees, Red Sox, pretty much the same thing.
I'm curious to see what Yamamoto's going to do, because I know he's starting one of those first two games. Obviously, we try to be off in the big deal.
There was a story about Yamamoto, about him not coming up in big games in Japan. Coming up in it. So I don't know.
Okay.
There was a story. I mean, obviously, different. And again, that's like just narratives and stuff.
Different environment, but it's interesting.
Yeah. But no, it's I'm looking at the MLB website as of right now and seeing Pete just scream at the top of his lungs in a picture, which is just. I mean, it is great to see. It really is.
Yeah, he's been down. He
got
quite
his
a few
moment.
beverages, so.
Yeah,
And now,
Hopefully he's able to sleep it off tomorrow.
Yeah.
And Sebby doesn't have to drink the water. They were making the jokes when the Braves just, everyone drink their water. You don't got to drink water tonight.
Nobody eat any undercooked chicken. No.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. You guys earned it.
I mean, jeez.
Yeah, and also another storyline. Brandon Nemo's grandmother passed away before the game, and no one besides Nemo knew. So I mean, credit. I mean, he got the huge hit later than I think. So definitely, condolences to Brandon and his family. But you feel for him.
Rest in peace to
He's a
Grandma
great guy.
Nemo. Everybody, give us your condolences as well. We already know Brandon Nemo is a very likable guy. So we know that a lot of things. He's always a positive guy. So when you see him kind of compose himself a little bit, thinking about something like that.
Maybe we could get playoff McNeil. He's like right around the corner. Maybe.
No.
All right. Ranger Central, a guy Python, one of our former guests on here, saying he's never ripped on Pete. I haven't either. I've never said anything bad about Pete ever before. None of us have. There is no video evidence, even though there is video evidence of us doing it.
Literally
but,
24 hours ago.
2 hours ago.
And again, Game for War saying, respect to Carson for reading a critical. Listen, I understand frustrations of all Mets fans, better than almost anybody. I mean, listen, if you have some criticism that we give out criticism. You got some criticism for us, as long as you're, being respectful. It's criticism. There's a difference between criticism and hate. So I'm not, someone. I mean, we've had Braves fans come in here and antagonize us, and we'd be like, "Hey, listen, you guys have a good team. You got a good squad. You earn the win. Like there's nothing really we can say. It's only really the gateway that we have to say things, and that's how it is. And sometimes they make us eat crow. Sometimes we just go on and continue some kind of trolling or something. It is all reactionary at the end of the day. It's how we're feeling at the current moment, and it's a roller coaster being a Mets fan. That's how it is. It always will be. It will never be easy, no matter who buys the team, no matter how you change your jersey, no matter how I forget how it is. You get the different uniform.
You change the GM, change the coach, change the jersey, change
the culture.
Team.
It don't matter. It doesn't matter what happened. Reese Hoskins just said that it is nothing but disappointment right now after losing.
Game 4. I would. I got one. I'll wear it. I'll do it. Definitely.
Yeah.
I would love to.
Sure.
That's the thing we were saying before game. Is that we're like so happy he did that. Like that's
exactly.
what we're criticizing. Like we wanted to see that. So
we wanted to see it. We've been waiting for him to do it. We've been waiting all year for him to come up with the big hit.
That's kind of the thing too. Is like sometimes with criticism, at least for me, it has to do with expectations. So like if
Yeah.
it was a bum who was leaving a bunch of guys on base, I'm like, okay, he's a bum. I don't expect much. But what
Yeah.
Alonso's thing is like bringing in runners.
Yeah.
Like that's where my frustration comes from.
When a run producer isn't producing runs, you're going to get fair criticism. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
You know, like Christopher coming in asking us, would y'all stream on Twitch? I mean,
We don't got any titties.
Dude, how many things do I have to blank out for this goddamn episode? For fuck's sake. Okay. But
like
That's
worse to
Weekly
stream
After
on?
Dark, folks. This
Yeah,
is
it's
this
after-
rating is going to
Jesus
switch to be
Christ,
Mets
y'all are
Weekly
killing
After
me.
Dark, and y'all gonna have to pay for that. I mean, we are not just going to be doing that for free.
yeah, all right. Jesus Christ. I mean, you know, you kind of have to build up a little bit of a following over there. We don't have a Twitch for Mets Weekly. You know, I think that if we go through another situation where the MLB season gets canceled, like in 2020, maybe we'll make a Twitch and be like making simulations or something.
Yeah, and Andrew will be on the show on the
just to like
Mets
waste
Weekly
time
Twitch
or
account.
whatever.
Exactly.
Kind of like how SNY did like a whole thing with like a Mets simulation or whatever, and they had Gary, Keith, and Ron
yeah,
announce
that
a
was
few
so
of those
stupid.
games.
That was so
Like,
stupid.
you know, it was so dumb, but it's like, you know, to keep people occupied because there's only so many times you can do that. I mean, it's we'll see what happens. I think that, you
We'll throw
know,
it in the
they'll
consideration box.
definitely
It's an off-season discussion, obviously. Yeah. So
yeah, obviously we got some ideas for the offseason coming through. We have a fellow Raiders fan coming in saying justice for Churia. Listen, I think
be a Dodger for Raiders, but
some of my fellow Raiders fans have been trolling me a little bit, you know, like, you know, the way that they do, knowing I'm a Mets fan. But listen, I you know, a win is a win, you know? I don't know what to tell you. But let's just say, do they even have sports bloggers on Twitch? I don't even know if they do.
I don't watch
I
Twitch.
have no clue.
I think
If they do, they'd probably have
I
like
think
some kind of New York beat
WFA
writer to
did
ruin
have
it for
Twitch
everybody,
at some
right?
point for one of their shows. I forget which one. So I mean, I guess it's a little bit.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah, Twitch.
Alright,
is-
so-
Yep.
I think we've hit that quota. Frank's about to fall
Yeah, we
asleep. He's
definitely
here,
have.
guys.
No, way past my bedtime.
Yeah, definitely some extra, you know, talk for you guys, mainly because we're just finishing it off here, filling some of the time that I thought we would do with Collins. But again, like we said, everybody, there was two other people that had a different idea to ruin it for everybody. So
We had two good ones though, and we appreciate those.
Yes.
And-
Those guys,
but we've
yeah.
had good ones in the
Absolutely.
past, but we've had bad ones too.
yeah, we had two good ones come in here, be respectful and actually, you know, want to talk. And then there's some that just wanted to ruin it for us. So it's whatever. I know I apologize to anybody else who wanted to get any comments in. But other than that, we're going to end it off here. And we're going to rest up for the next series, which will be the National League Division Series. And we will be facing off against our division rival, the Philadelphia Phillies. We'll see what happens there. Of course, we will have the pre-game show here on Saturday, a little bit earlier in the day, which will most likely be like 2:30 since it starts at 4. And we'll have, of course, our notes going in. But other than that, I will give you guys your final thoughts. Incredible win. I mean, I don't know what else to say, but Andrew, I'll go to you. What do you got in that big fat head of yours?
Well, I'm not on the Jalen Brunson level of fathead, but I'll take it from here. Just another chapter in this miracle season that is, and the wild ride continues. Bring on the Phillies, and again, you're not gonna have hair by the time if these games keep going the way you are. You're already balding half.
Listen,
you're
I've
like
accepted
Pluto.
it.
You're
You
like
know, I've
Pluto
already
now,
accepted
so,
it.
Again, let's go Mets. Weekend in Philly. I can't think of anything better.
All right. Game for War coming in saying, don't forget to like the video. We agree. I agree on that. You should do that. For those of you who have not yet, it really helps us out.
And the
Frank,
people
I'll
on
go to
Twitter
you.
should go to YouTube and like the video as well. That would help out great.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I mean, for me, I'm just very happy that Alonso proved me wrong, because this stream could have been, it was like it could have went the other way so easily, as far as just absolute just destruction and just screaming and going crazy in a bad way. Like, it was this close to going that way. I had the whole speech written out. I had to rip up the paper. I mean, so he turned it around, and I just hope that this team could really get in the groove. No more stressful elimination games, at least for a little bit. We got to relax. I don't want to get too many gray hairs. I'm trying to keep the aging process as slow as possible. They push through a lot, so we just want to have some fun as we go to Philly.
Did you write that speech like with the quill or whatever? The
quill,
Yeah,
a piece
of
is
course.
it the feather? Okay.
Yeah,
feather and quill. There you go.
I had my stone with me. I was etching in it.
Stone. This
Wow,
Had
you
the-
can write in
had the
hieroglyphics. That's
bro
so
had the
cool,
tablet
man.
out. Had the big ass what is it called? Stone tablets.
All
not
right,
the-
but as for me, I mean, what a ride. Again, like Andrew said, I am definitely going to continue to lose my hair. And to be honest, being the youngest co-host out of the three of us, and me losing my hair, I mean, it is kind of a funny thing. But you know what? The genetics got me. I don't know what to say. But I've accepted it, that it's going to happen. And, you know what? Fuck you. All right. For our audio listeners, he is bragging about how he has a full head of hair. You know what? Screw you. All right. Some of us are just not that lucky.
We're
Anyways,
not built like this.
for those of you in here who are watching, for those of you watching on Twitter, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, for those of you who are watching on playback, let us know what you think of the wins in the comment section below. I don't usually call to the comment section or anything, because, you know, these are live shows and you guys live chat, but, you know, it's a special occasion. We've got ourselves a nice win in Milwaukee against a team that absolutely destroyed us the entire year. But other than that, huge win. On to the NLDS that we go. Make sure to follow everybody else individually. The links are in the description. Follow us on TikTok and on X for more content going forward. I mean, what a win. What a win. That's all I got to say. And of course, to those of you in here, make sure to tune in for our pregame for Game 1 of the National League Division Series, pregame coverage, and of course the postgame coverage for the podcast. Other than that, we will see you guys next time. Let's go Mets. What a win today. Enjoy the day off.